I was getting ready to do a walkthrough of the garden as today's garden tour, just a quick walkthrough, and then I was just gonna do a voiceover and not actually like do much talking because I had misplaced my tripod, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to do a full-on talking garden tour if I don't have my tripod. And as I was walking over to the garden to do my intro, there's the tripod in the middle of the garden. So we'll go ahead and get this thing started correctly. It is the end of another month, which means it's the beginning of another garden tour. Today is Sunday, April 30th. So I'm still par for the course of doing my garden tour the very last week of the month. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I can't wait to show you guys how the garden has changed in the last month. There's been so many new developments. Things are starting to actually grow relatively quickly. So I'm really looking forward to showing you those things. And then even just this past week, we got a few new plants to add to the garden, which you'll see in the May garden tour. Today I'm dealing with a little bit of a headache and also just a little bit of sleepiness is the word I'm going to use. I'm a little bit sleepy right now. So I come home from church and I rest, and then I tell myself I'm going to do the garden tour once the sun gets on the other side of the house and our backyard starts to cool down, and then I just get really comfortable and relaxed, and sometimes that causes me to feel a little bit reluctant about coming out here to do a garden tour. But I know at the end of the season, if nothing else, I'm gonna want to see the progress of the garden from month to month. And I'm thankful for the people who are still following along and seeing how the garden is changing and growing throughout the year. So thank you for being here. I'm glad that you're here to support, that you're subscribed, wanting to see how things are growing here at Squire Studio Microfarm. And so I do this for the people who are subscribed and for the people who are interested in learning how things are changing from month to month. But I also do it for future Courtney, who in months to come is going to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have got some footage or pictures or just some a view on how the garden looked in April of 2023. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take things nice and slow. So I'm not gonna set a time limit for myself on this, but I'm also not gonna rush through. So without further ado, let's take a tour. Here is our full view of the garden. April 2023, the very last week of April. Oh, things are growing so quickly and starting to green up. We still have been hand watering everything with the hoses that you can see here with the hose wand. So the grass is not looking super green because we haven't been watering the full yard like we did last year with a sprinkler, although we probably will be transitioning back to a sprinkler within this next month. It just saves so much time to use a sprinkler. I have been enjoying hand watering whenever it's not too warm, but it's about that time. Here is where we will get started. My beloved flower path. This is really one of my favorite sections of the garden because I can just see in my mind what it'll look like from season to season, and while it doesn't always turn out how I imagine, I just imagine for greater the next season, and that's really fun and exciting to me. So we have the Shasta daisies here on this side. They're really starting to get nice and full, and the stems are starting to extend. So I believe last year these started blooming I believe last year these started blooming in the middle of June. This is a mum right here in between those two Shasta daisies. And then there's another mum right back there. Last year, this particular clump of Shasta daisies was not nearly this large. There was actually quite a bit of space between these Shasta daisies and that mum. And I'm definitely going to dig this up at the end of this year so that they don't crowd each other out and kill each other. I think this mum right here is already competing with this side of the Shasta daisy for nutrients, because if you look down towards the center, there's some yellowing, and I think they're just competing for nutrients. So I'm definitely going to divide that at the end of the season. There's a sweet pea right there that had self-seeded, and I'm letting it go. It is currently making seeds. So this vine won't last a particularly long time because I'm letting it go to seed, but I think it'll be fun to let it reseed and then just let sweet peas grow wild right there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 dahlias. I'm gonna put some more either going this direction or this direction, and I think I'm gonna try to just let them perennialize. I'm really tired of digging them up, even though I've only been doing it for about 2 years now. There's another Shasta daisy. We have our daffodils that are done. I interplanted some pro-cut sunflowers there. When I transplanted these sunflowers, I kind of pulled the mulch back, roughed up the soil a little bit, and that has caused some marigold seeds to come to the surface. I let a lot of the marigolds here go to seed last year, but they've been buried by the mulch, and so none of them have germinated. But here we have a little clump of marigolds right here, and then some right there. I'm gonna let those go, and then I'm gonna do the same thing so that they'll reseed themselves. There's our eucalyptus. It badly needs to be weeded. We have snapdragons here, looking so lovely. And then on the other side of the snapdragon, these are hollyhocks that I planted last year. I didn't get any flowers last year, but they are creating flower buds this year. So I believe these are the black hollyhocks, and I'm eager to see if they'll actually produce black flowers. So we shall see. I direct seeded some cosmos here. After I saw that some cosmos had seeded themselves from last year, I realized that that was a possibility. So here are the cosmos. I planted them really tightly. I'm not going to thin them because cosmos grow kind of wiry anyways, so I think they'll be okay. And I'm hoping that having them planted close together, they'll kind of grow up to support each other. This is one of the cosmos that self-seeded, so it's little right now. I'm just gonna let them do their thing. These are all ones that self-seeded, and then we have some more coming up right in through here, and these are ones that I direct seeded. Okay, let's make our way over to the arch trellis. So over here we have kale that is ready to be harvested, definitely. This is blue curly kale, and I'm so pleased with how it's been growing. It hasn't had very much pest pressure. Daffodils that are done for the season. There's a little bit of self-seeded buckwheat in there, a self-seeded sweet pea, and then there's I believe that is sun gold tomato, one of the lawn ornaments we got a few weeks ago. I believe that's a Berry's Crazy Cherry tomato and another self-seeded buckwheat. I'm gonna let the buckwheat go to seed so it can seed itself again. I actually really like growing buckwheat in the garden, and it's even a fun little accent to put in cut flower arrangements. Over on this side, the mint has really grown, is doing its thing. I'll be using this for flower arrangements as well because my basil is still trying to establish itself. We have sun gold tomato there, and that was some self-seeded red lettuce. There's collard greens under there, but when I say they're absolutely huge, I'm going to give you a little bit of a peek, but I'm not going to pull the shade cloth all the way off. As we walk by, these are some orange hat micro dwarf tomatoes. That's an endless summer hydrangea. I do plan on taking a couple cuttings of it this year. And then those are 4 more dahlias. This is a sun gold tomato that is really outperforming every other one. So I'll definitely be taking cuttings from this to clone this plant. And I think it's doing the best because it gets shade for a majority of the day. And so that's been keeping this plant nice and cool. And it's actually really been loving that. Let's take a quick look under this cover so we can see the collards. Actually, I haven't looked at them in a while. They look a little bit sad today. They're going to seed, and so we need to pinch out the center stalk so we can keep them for a little bit longer. But you can see they're looking really big. I'm probably just going to harvest these for ourselves and then dehydrate them and maybe make some greens powder. But these are how the collard greens are looking. They're super huge. Over in the other square raised bed, we have our lemon balm. There's some kale, strawberries, and then we have our sedum here in 3 of the corners, and then our sun gold tomatoes there and there. Here we have our ranunculus. There's a self-seeded or no, that's not a self-seeded one, but that is one from seed that I did last year, I think, and it just never germinated. But that's buckwheat. There are some perennialized snapdragons, beautiful bright yellow color. We have collard greens here that are also going to seed. And then these are Egyptian walking onions. I think they're getting ready to make their, I think this is the bloom stalk. We'll see. This is my first year growing these, so I'm not sure how that gets started, but these are Egyptian walking onions. Here at the corner of this bed. And then behind me at the hugelkultur bed, we have our gladiola. There's some more Shasta daisies. And then those little clumps that kind of look like grass are actually carnations. I'm going to give you a quick view of our tomato alley. So right this way. So here's Tomato Alley. We have tomatoes running along this side and tomatoes running along this side. This is a mix of sun gold tomatoes and Barry's Crazy Cherry. And I think a couple of the places where I lost tomatoes to the pill bugs, I'm going to transplant in some red cherry tomato plants because we still have a couple that don't have a place to go yet. These are sugar snap peas, and the ones on the end, I think they pretty much just dried out. But then the ones in the middle, these are finally starting to make flowers. So we should get some peas here in a little bit. And then I direct seeded okra in here. I need to come through here and weed, which I'll probably do tomorrow. But this is Clemson spineless okra that I direct seeded just straight down this bed. You can see it's popping up all along here. We have, I believe all the ones on this side are the Barry's Crazy Cherry. And then we have some pro-cut sunflowers. Those are doing quite well. There's Shasta Daisy and plantain here. So you can see the plantain is going to flower And I think it was confused with Shasta Daisy, so it didn't get pulled out of this bed. But it will at the end of the season, because I'm going to pull the Shasta Daisy out, and we're going to transplant the clump somewhere. And then we have a bunch of radish here as well. At the end of the flower path here, we have a self-seeded chamomile. I was actually very happy to see this had self-seeded because I didn't get it. I mean, I tried to plant some this year, but it didn't actually make it to the garden. So I'm gonna harvest a little bit from this when I can, and then the rest I'm gonna let go to seed, and then just hope the seeds kind of fall around here, and maybe I'll have a little micro meadow of chamomile. I'd absolutely love that. I'd love if we had chamomile as a weed. So right here we have our raised bed with lilies. These are doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm really glad these came back because I wasn't entirely sure that these would. And then we have some self-seeded sunflowers right at the edge of the lily bed. Underneath this ash tree, we have the surviving strawberry plants from last year. There's just a couple that made it through from last year. And then I transplanted some lettuce here just to see how it would do at the base of this tree. And so far, so good. Let's come around here to the other side. These are blueberry plants. Of course, we had these last month, but I'm happy to say that the blueberries are progressing quite nicely. You can see they're starting to plump up. Oh, these are so pretty. So pretty. I'm so excited for these. If anybody knows why a few of the leaves are doing this, please let me know in the comments so I can do some troubleshooting. I did add some soil acidifier this past week, and then we do our best not to let these dry out, so they get watered 3 times a week. Coming around here on the other side, you can see the daffodil foliage is falling over. It's done for the season. We have more clumps of Shasta Daisy here. Lemon balm reaching for the sky. So I'm gonna harvest that this week. I think I'm gonna harvest it pretty hard too, because it's kind of competing with the Shasta Daisy, but that'll probably just make the stems of the Shasta Daisy even longer. So this lemon balm grew nowhere near this tall last year, so I'm actually thinking it's kind of cool how tall these stems are this year. In these soil mounds, we direct seeded some sugar baby watermelon, so we'll see how those do. Our pomegranate tree, and then we put this shade cloth over our currant bush. Just to give it a little bit of relief from the midday heat. You can see the currants are really starting to plump up. They didn't plump up like this last year at all. They stayed relatively small, and then I believe a lot of pests might have gotten the fruit, so we didn't get to enjoy any currants last year. There's ants on it now, but hopefully they don't make off with anything. I'm excited to see the fruit plumping up, though. I'm really hoping this shade cloth proves to be successful. In this bed here, we have calendula. These are calendula that's self-seeded here. There was a clump of them up front, and I moved a couple back here. And so far, they've made it through. So I'm gonna come through and probably pick these here at the end of the tour, the ones that are like fully open like that. And like this one here. I'm so in awe of how much these plants have grown since the winter, because they weren't nearly this large last year. It looks like I missed a bloom there. I'll just pull this off now because I'm not ready for it to start making seeds yet. I want this to definitely push out more blooms. Self-seeded Alamogordo sunflowers back there. I pinched them a few weeks ago and they're really starting to branch out. So we'll see how big they get, being so close together. And then you can see something's been eating on those leaves there. We have our garlic. In this first market bed, the finished daffodils. There's a few snapdragons, and I direct seeded zucchini here. I'm not sure what day, but I'm happy to report that the seeds are just starting to germinate. So the soil looks super dry right now, but tomorrow is watering day. There's another germinated one there, and another zucchini there. So I'm really pleased with that. Oh my goodness. Another chamomile. I'm so happy about that. This is where I had chamomile planted last year. And I worked this soil a lot to get this garlic in. So I had actually given up any hope that chamomile would come back over here. And because of how thick the mulch was. So I am so happy to see that. I'm just so happy to see that. Chamomile is very relaxing to harvest for me. But here's our garlic. It probably needs to be fertilized again. And then across the way, we have a volunteer sunflower. There's snapdragons. There's a lot clumped together in this bed. So there's carrots here. There's the daffodils that will die back soon. There's snapdragons, and there's some seeded sweet peas. The carrots can come out soon. Actually, that carrot is starting to go to seed. And then here on the other side, the lilies. Here's how these lilies are doing. We've had these in the ground for a couple years now. It's so fun to see them come back year after year. This one is gonna put off a lot of flowers. And then the parsley is finally starting to get some size to it. It had a really rough going for several weeks. So I'm glad to see that the parsley is bouncing back. Here's our self-seeded sunflowers. I'm actually just gonna pull these up because I have no intentions of growing these here. This is the middle of a walkway. So yeah, sorry sunnies. It kind of hurts sometimes because you always wonder, there's the potential there of it because it's self-seeded. It's already acclimated, you know. It's gonna do amazing, but it's just in the wrong place. The parsley looks great. And then here on the other side, another clump of Shasta daisies. This will definitely get divided this year. Shasta daisies, I know some people aren't super fond of them because of how quickly they grow. They might refer to them as weeds, but they're such a fun flower for me, and I really like using them for bouquets as well. And they're really fun in the garden. They actually make a really pretty photo backdrop. I might focus on trying to create backdrops throughout the garden next year. Here are our shishito peppers. I don't really have much to say about them. I know in about a month or so, they'll look great. I know they will. So But here's how they're looking for now. This one is definitely too close to the Shasta Daisy, but I think it'll do just fine. And then there's another little pepper right there. Okay, let's look back here. I buried some pumpkins here at the end of last year, and yeah, the seeds literally germinate multiple times a week. So there were several pumpkins under here. So I have to come the last like 2 weeks I've been coming through, just pulling these out, moving them to the side, because these tiny little things are actually carrots. So I'll be having an empty space here where these pumpkins have been germinating in the middle of this line of carrots. Look how long this seedling root is. So they're coming from deep within. And then of course there's tons of pill bugs in there because it's damp. They love it. But here carrots all the way down here. And then another line of carrots. That actually smelled like zucchini. I don't think I put any zucchini there, but maybe I did. There's lines of carrots there, and carrots there, and just a few actually right along here. We have more pro-cut sunflowers, and that's one of the Alamogordo sunsets. That's comfrey. Come around. It's a dandelion. Come around and see the comfrey. This is its first year flowering. It's very interesting looking to me. These flowers are really interesting looking. There's a lot of ants in there. So yeah, that's the comfrey. I'll probably divide that this year so I can put comfrey in multiple places throughout the garden. Here we have more pro-cut sunflowers. These are budding. I have to say that these first couple rounds of sunflowers, they were put through the ringer, and you can tell that. Here's our very first bloom, but you can tell they were put through the ringer because a few of them did this. They got this, I think it's called fasciation, and usually that happens, there's multiple faces on the head of that sunflower, and that normally happens when a flower is very stressed. There's parsley there. My daughter spilled a container of parsley seeds, so it kind of ended up in random places. But some zinnias, I direct seeded some zinnias here. They've germinated, and there. And these sunflowers should probably start blooming within the next 2 weeks. We have here at the front carrots. When I thought that these carrots had been washed away, I then put lettuce seed tape, but then some of the lettuce came up and then the carrots came up, and I'm glad they didn't come up right on top of each other. This is self-seeded lettuce. I just came through and just seeded a ton of lettuce seed just to fill in these empty spaces. So you can see all this. And there's lettuce down here and carrots. But yeah, you can see they're super close together. But that's what I want, because they'll work. Being close together, they'll help shade the soil so that it doesn't heat up as quickly, and hopefully the lettuce will last a little bit longer. But these sunflowers have been doing a great job shading these lettuces midday, so that might be a technique that I have to actually do purposefully in the future. Planting some lettuce at the base of sunflowers. And then here we have more snapdragons. There's a carrot going to flower, which I'm excited about because I really like using carrot flowers. I really like using carrot flowers in arrangements. So then I also threw out some lettuce seed in this area. So we'll see if the lettuce makes it through. There's a tomato plant there and a tomato plant there. And I think that's everything. I do believe so. Almost forgot. In between these two raised beds under the arch trellis, I put some poppies that we got from Lowe's. Those are champagne bubbles. And according to the label, they should perennialize here. And I'd absolutely love that because I haven't been successful at growing champagne bubbles poppies from seed. So I'm hoping that they'll perennialize and just kind of fill out this whole area. But when I bought them, they were full of flowers. The flowers lasted about a week or two, and then they had been sitting here as just foliage, but now they're creating more buds. So I'm excited about that and to know that they're starting to acclimate to this area. Okay, well, there you have it. That's how things are looking here at the end of April 2023. Lots of progress. And by next month, there should be hopefully more warm season flowers blooming. So I'm looking forward to showing that to you guys. The next video I'll probably do is an updated tour of our front yard farm. So definitely stay tuned. Definitely stay tuned for that. So until next time, keep learning and keep growing.